Hey, Volume Manning here. Welcome to the Garden Report here from outside the Auerbach Center in Boston, where Wyc Grousbeck, Brad Stevens just addressed the media to discuss the year-long suspension that the team levied against Ime Udoka last night, leaving his future up in the air. That future has not been discussed yet, Grousbeck said here today, as he defended his decision to commit to what effectively was an unprecedented penalty for a head coach, for a front office member, for a team personnel member, for what he described as multiple, at the very least, violations of team protocol. Shams Charania reported last night that the improper relationships that this seemed to stem from, at least one relationship, that the team deemed improper here, was believed to have been consensual, as Shams originally reported, before the woman called out unwanted comments from the coach. So that's where we stand from the reporting side of things here. As far as Grousbeck and Stevens go, they defended the vetting of Udoka last summer originally, to try to find behavior like this from his past coaching stops, Brooklyn, Philadelphia, all the rest. And in terms of the length of the suspension, Grousbeck said it had to do with his gut feel, his conscience. Those are the kind of terms he was using in this press conference to handle a situation that, although he told me, lined up with how the team handled procedures and policy regarding conduct like this in the past, that he didn't have anything to go off of in terms of handing out this penalty, the size, the length, and of course the coach's future as well. Unclear why it rose to the level of a year, but was not ending in Udoka's firing. I guess that's still a possibility down the line here. But the team, of course, took the time as well, Stevens and Grousbeck, to defend the women of the organization who were subject to smearing on social media, particularly Allison Feaster, who Mark Spears reported is not involved in any of these incidents. Stevens became emotional as he talked about what the women of the organization had to go through today. Didn't offer any ideas of how the team could have possibly come out and stopped it. Grousbeck said leaks regarding the conduct were not from the Celtics organization. The team had hired a law firm to investigate sometime earlier in the summer. And that's where I still have some questions based on what we heard here today. But in this video, I'm just going to talk about what Grousbeck, Stevens ultimately discussed here. Grousbeck also defended his workplace, said this does not describe what he thinks could be a wider statement on the Celtics workplace, those policies, those procedures. I asked if this is a sign that any of that needs to change. Again, he was defending both the decision as well as the policies and procedures that the Celtics followed to get to this point. Though he did say he'll speak to members of the organization to see if anything does need to be addressed, to see if this is indicative of wider issues within the Celtics organization, though he believes this was an isolated incident when it comes to Udoka's conduct. Grousbeck said that he consulted Stevens as well as other members of the organization, but it ultimately was his call to suspend Udoka for a year. And Stevens ultimately today announced that Joe Mazzulla will take over this organization to start training camp here, and I guess didn't technically commit to him throughout the season, though they haven't discussed bringing in any outside voices, and Stevens affirmatively said he will not be coaching the Boston Celtics this year, though Wyc did interject and say that they had a short discussion about whether that would be a possibility. Stevens said for a multitude of reasons, he does not see himself stepping into this role. Backed Mazzulla as the best person for the job, and of course, people mention 2 arrests on Mazzulla's record from when he was a member of the West Virginia basketball team in 2008-2009, one having to do with his conduct at a Pittsburgh Pirates game, I believe, and the second, a charge of domestic battery where Missoula allegedly grabbed a woman at a bar and ultimately was suspended from the team, received treatment for a personal issue, as a newspaper reported at the time, and went on to coach a couple of different colleges, one being Fairmont State, where he was the head coach. Stevens said he vetted Missoula as he came into the Maine Red Claws, and then, of course, on his staff in 2019 when Stevens hired him to the Boston Celtics. So Stevens said with complete certainty he knows that the behavior that Missoula exhibited, 13 years ago, changed who he is, informs who he became as a person. And through 3 years of knowing and meeting with him, Grousbeck said he spent time with Missoula through the postseason run this last year. They have no concerns about his behavior, his character, as he prepares to become the interim coach of the Celtics starting Tuesday at the beginning of training camp. Both Stevens and Grousbeck acknowledged it's going to be a difficult time. Grousbeck said the team was informed by Stevens over the past 48 hours here once the report by the law firm was released. And there was a sense of shock, disbelief, and it's going to be a difficult process, Stevens acknowledged, for a team that had close ties to Ime Udoka, of course the coaching staff that had ties to Udoka as well, as he'll be out of the picture now for this season and possibly beyond. A major rift in the Celtics organization here as the Celtics suspend Ime Udoka as their head coach for multiple violations of team policy. Of course, brought to you by Athletic Greens. Go over to athleticgreens.com/garden to get 5 free travel packs when you make a purchase, as well as a year's supply of vitamin D. And com.com/garden. Go there to get 40% off a premium trial of Calm. Athletic Greens, of course, 1 powder in your water each morning that gives you 75 vitamins, minerals, adaptogens, as well as probiotics and immune-boosting vitamin D. Calm.com, a variety of wellness products, including sleep sounds, meditation, yoga, and more, all available to you for 40% off when you go to calm.com/garden. I'm Bobby Manning. Stick with Celtics All Access on YouTube for more developments as we learn them on Ime Udoka's suspension. A live Garden report later as well. Pair of Garden reports from yesterday where we discussed this development and more to come on CLNS Media, including the full press conference from today will be available there as well. Stay tuned for our next video where I'll discuss some of the unanswered questions from today's press conference.